This podcast is produced by the Fireside Chat Club of Canada.
It was 1981. I was 17 years old. I was the high school photographer for the yearbook. I was in the choir, and I liked musical theater. You do the math. Hello, and welcome to Canada as I see it. My goodness, I did go on a little last week, didn't I? Well, that was a fun trip, and it was great reminiscing about it. So, what do we have this week? Well, there are very few entertainment venues that do not have a corporate name attached to them. You have AT&T Stadium, where the Dallas Cowboys NFL franchise plays. You have Centre Bell, where NHL's Montreal Canadiens play. And as, well, a sign of the times, you have Crypto.com Arena, where the Los Angeles Lakers of the NBA, the Los Angeles Kings of the NHL, and the Los Angeles Sparks of the WNBA play. Although it's safe to say I don't think not all at the same time. The ones that do not have a corporate name are, well, few and far between. But I've tried to compile a list here of at least a few of them. We have Angels Stadium, which used to be known as Anaheim Stadium, where baseball's Los Angeles Angels play, before they were known as the Anaheim Angels. Really, I think they're kind of out of sync there a bit. We have the famous Dodger Stadium, where the LA Dodgers, Los Angeles Dodgers play. And this stadium is actually in Los Angeles. We have Nationals Park, where the Washington Nationals play. They used to be the Montreal Expos before moving to Washington, D.C., after the 2004 season. And incidentally, the Montreal Expos used to play in a tiny little park, Jarry Park, and before they moved to Olympic Stadium in 1976. So a couple more not corporate names there. And of course, we have Yankee Stadium. We've all heard a lot from there over the last couple of weeks, haven't we? Fenway Park is home to the Boston Red Sox. That was named actually for the neighborhood in which it resides, Fenway Kenmore. We have Kauffman Stadium. Kauffman Stadium is named after Ewing Kauffman, not of the Ewings on Dallas, no. Ewing Kauffman, the founder and first owner, actually, of the Kansas City Royals baseball team. The stadium, which opened in 1973 as Royals Stadium, I wonder why. Yeah, it was named Kauffman Stadium in his honor on July 2nd, 1993, just months before his death. Let's see, we have Camden Yards. Camden Yards is named also after the area where it was built, a former site of the Baltimore and Ohio Railroad Yards. This historical industrial area was actually known as the Camden Yards Complex, and the stadium's location incorporated the name into its design. The full name of the ballpark is actually Oriole Park at Camden Yards. And really, it was a compromise between the team owner, who favored Oriole Park, and the governor of Maryland at the time, William Donald Schaefer, who favored the name Camden Yards. Let's see here. We have Wrigley Field. That's the home of the Chicago Cubs, where Ferris, Cameron, and Sloan enjoyed a game on their day off. Now, the Blue Jays had the right idea when they moved into their new stadium in 1989. It was called Skydome, and to a great number of people, it still is called Skydome. The name actually came from the winner of a contest. In fact, even though the name was changed when Rogers Communications purchased the complex in 2005, the winner of that contest, her name is Kelly Watson. She actually still can use the lifetime tickets that she won. Let's see. Well, I kind of got off on the wrong track there. Yeah, for like about 5 minutes, James. Today's show is not just about corporate sponsorship or not corporate sponsorship. That was a bit of a misdirect. What it is about the first entertainment venue in North America to be named by a corporate entity. Let's set the scene here. We have Toronto. The time, 1940s. It was decided that the city needed a venue to attract shows that featured theater, music, and dance. I think they felt as though the city was cosmopolitan enough to handle it. The Leafs had things under control, winning 3 Stanley Cups during that decade. The Toronto Argonauts of the CFL took home 3 Grey Cups that decade. So now it was time for the arts to take the stage. Mayor Nathan Phillips, that's where the new City Hall got its name in 1965, appealed to industrialists of the time to finance the building of such a place. As we all know, the wheels of bureaucracy move very slowly. However, E.P. Taylor, he was a racehorse-loving head of Canadian breweries that owned O'Keefe Brewing, and he offered up the money in 1955, and the plans to build this theater were finally compiled and ready to be enacted in 1958. Now, where to build? The lot chosen was where there used to be a group of commercial buildings. I guess they figured it was as good a place as any for a couple of reasons. You may recall that the corner of Front and Yonge was where the Great Toronto Fire of 1904 was finally put out. It was also originally a water lot on Toronto Harbor. How's that, you say? Well, years ago, I'm going to get into that. There's another part that I'm going to talk about later in another podcast, where anything south of Front Street in Toronto actually used to be part of Lake Ontario. As construction went on through the years, the detritus of the sites was taken down there to create newfound land. No, not that one. No, this is just land that was new. In fact, wooden piles from old wharves, wharves, not wharf, wharves had to be removed to set the foundation. The basement floor of this new building was even built in a waterproof trench. Of course, there were detractors, aren't there always? The United Church spokesman opposed the idea that money from the sale of beer would be used for community development. That was noted. In fact, as years went by, the entertainment center became known affectionately as the barn that beer built. I like the alliteration there. That was fun. The original concept of this plan was to build a multi-building complex, much like the Rockefeller Center in New York City or Manhattan. It would have been nice, even with a skating rink, too. That would have been cool. However, it was ultimately decided that the center would have one multi-purpose auditorium. Construction moved slowly, although not as slowly as that of a certain rail corridor in Toronto, which shall not be named. It actually just marked the beginning of its teenage years. Oh, it's nice. The O'Keefe Center opened on October 1st, 1960, with a red carpet gala. The first production was actually a pre-Broadway premiere of Lerner and Loewe's Camelot. This one starred Richard Burton, Robert Goulet, Laurence Olivier, and a very youthful Julie Andrews. I actually attended a production of Camelot at the O'Keefe Center when I was in high school. This one had Richard Harris in it. I often got those two confused back in the day, Richard Burton and Richard Harris. But Richard Harris was in this theater production. He actually played King Arthur in the movie version. I was really into musical theater at the time, as well as writing. Go figure. I still am. It doesn't matter now, but it certainly made for interesting times back in 1981 when I was trying to navigate my teen years. So, that's your answer. 65 years ago, the O'Keefe Center was the first entertainment venue, a theater, arena, stadium, to be named by a company. And to settle an argument right now, although it may or may not come up, there is a place in St. Louis called Bush Memorial Stadium, home of the St. Louis baseball Cardinals. The name for that venue was actually proposed in 1955, but it wasn't actually named as such until 1968. So, I guess they were using the Eglinton LRT time-based naming convention, and I just named what shouldn't have been named. Since then, the O'Keefe Center, it became the Hummingbird Center. That was a Canadian software company. The Sony Center for the Performing Arts, a rather poetic name, and it is now known as Meridian Hall, and that's a credit union. While it was the Hummingbird Center, that was back in the early 2000s, a plan was put in place to actually demolish the venue. I guess they figured it had, had its time, but they wanted to sell off the land, of course. Money to be made, people. The CEO, actually, of Hummingbird convinced the powers that be to not only keep it, but build a condo tower. What else do they build in Toronto these days? They wanted that tower to go right beside it. I guess he was unaware, or I suppose really trusting of that waterproof trench that the lot sat on. The 58-story Liebeskind Tower has now given new life to Toronto's historic theatre. Going back to O'Keefe, I am actually, of course, as always, there are going to be some links to check on under at my website. That's warpole.ca, WHORPOLE.ca. I actually used to work in a building that housed the offices for the O'Keefe Brewery back in the early 1990s when I was at the beginning of my career in radio. That was at CJRT FM. The building, the station has moved a couple of times since, but the building itself, being of heritage designation, it's since been remodeled. and is now part of the campus of Toronto Metropolitan University, where I used to go to school. That was sort of how I got the connection to the radio station. It's now known as Heaslip House, part of the G. Raymond Chang School of Continuing Education. As I said, there are a few links that you should check out regarding today's podcast. They're all at my website, warpole.ca, and the links are also to be seen on my Podbean webpage, and that's firesidechatd.podbean.com. And again, those two sites are also where you can go to contribute financially to my efforts to help bring you more great stories about Canada. Just look for the Buy Me a Coffee icon in the upper right corner. That's on my site. It's rectangular and big and yellow. And on Podbean, it's kind of gray and green, although it's just as exciting once you click on it. Today's podcast was introduced by Audrey. Thank you. Thank you very much, Audrey. And did you ever want to become a radio announcer like Audrey and yours truly? Well, it's easy. Send me a check for... No, I can't do that. Send me an audio recording. That's better. Send me an audio recording of you saying, "This podcast is produced by the Fireside Chat Club of Canada," and you can email that to me at asiseeit@warpole.ca. Canada as I See It is a production of the Fireside Chat Club of Canada. Our theme music that you're listening to now and at the beginning of the podcast is Night Owls by Braden Deal. I've also threw in a little bit of other music in there, not identified, but yeah, I try to do that every once in a while. I'd really love to play more music, but Braden's song is available to me, but otherwise, yeah, if you play music, you got to pay the man, and I'm not there yet, but I hope so. Hope in this near future I can do that. Join me next week for a rather wordy, tangent-laden podcast when I take a look at the next province in my country-wide search for information and trivia, British Columbia. Thank you so much for listening, and have yourselves a wonderful week.